When people talk about building wealth, everyone focuses on the same things: investing smarter, paying less taxes, or earning more money. But there's one massive financial mistake that almost nobody talks about. And the worst part? Most people make it every single month without even realizing it. If I asked you right now what's the biggest threat to your financial future, you'd probably say inflation, bad investments, or low income. But the real answer is something much closer to home. Something you probably bought with excitement. Something that feels completely normal, because everyone around you is doing it too. I'm talking about your car. And before you click away, this is not about telling you to never own a car. For most people, a car is a necessity, not a luxury. The real problem is how most people buy it. Because when you actually run the numbers, the true cost of that decision can silently drain tens of thousands of dollars from your future wealth. And in this video, we're going to put everything on the table. You'll understand the most common mistake people make when buying a car, how depreciation works and why it hits so hard in the first years, why financing a depreciating asset makes everything worse, and how much money you could actually be building instead. By the end of this video, you won't necessarily change what car you drive, but you will never look at a car purchase the same way again. Let's get into it. Before we talk about cars specifically, let's zoom out and look at where the average household actually spends its money. Because most people have a general idea: rent, food, bills, but very few people have ever sat down and looked at the real breakdown. When you look at household spending data across Latin America and the U.S. Hispanic market, a clear pattern emerges every single time. The top 3 spending categories are always the same: housing, food, and transportation. Together, these 3 categories alone can eat up anywhere between 55 and 65% of a household's total income. Think about that for a second. More than half of everything you earn goes to just 3 things. And we haven't even touched entertainment, clothing, healthcare, or your phone bill yet. Now, within that transportation category, one thing dominates above everything else: the car. Not public transport, not ride-sharing, the personal vehicle. And this is where something very interesting happens. Because most people treat the car as a fixed, unavoidable expense. Something you just have to deal with. But what if I told you that the way you buy that car, not whether you buy one, is one of the most important financial decisions you'll ever make? To understand why, we need to talk about something called depreciation. And unlike a house or an investment, a car almost never gains value over time. It loses it. Every single year, every single mile, your car is worth less than it was before. But here's the part that surprises most people. You don't even have to wait years to see the first drop in value. It happens the moment you drive off the dealership lot. Let me show you with a real example. Let's say you're looking at a popular mid-size sedan, brand new. It's listed at around $28,000. That same model, just registered with almost 0 miles, already drops to around $26,500. And a 3-year-old version of that same car with moderate mileage might be sitting at $17,000. Just by being registered and driven off the lot, that car already lost over $1,500 in value. That's roughly a 5 to 6% drop almost immediately. And it doesn't stop there. Over the next few years, that same car could lose 35 to 50% of its original value. Not because anything broke, not because you did anything wrong, simply because that's how cars work. Now, that alone is a problem. But it becomes a much bigger problem when you add financing into the equation. Imagine you finance that $28,000 car over 6 years at an interest rate of around 7%. Your monthly payment comes out to roughly $300 per month. Seems manageable, right? But let's fast forward 3 years. Over those 36 months, you've already paid about $10,800 in payments. And you still owe the bank around $15,200. Based on typical depreciation curves, that same car after 3 years is probably worth somewhere around $16,000 to $18,000. So you're roughly breaking even, maybe slightly above water if you're lucky. But by year 5, you've paid roughly $18,000 in total payments. You still owe around $7,000. And the car is now worth somewhere between $12,000 and $14,000. When you add up what you've paid plus what you still owe, you're looking at about $25,000 committed to this vehicle. And the car is worth maybe $13,000. That's a real economic loss of around $12,000 in just 5 years. And we haven't even counted insurance, maintenance, tires, or registration fees yet. When you add those in, even with conservative estimates, you're easily looking at $15,000 to $18,000 in total economic loss on a single vehicle purchase over 5 years. That's not a car payment. That's a down payment on a house. That's years of investment contributions. That's real money, gone. If you had bought that same $28,000 car in cash, after 5 years the car might be worth $13,000. Your loss from depreciation alone would be $15,000. But because you financed it, you also paid interest, another $4,000 to $6,000 on top. That's more than 30 to 40% additional loss just from choosing to finance instead of paying cash. And here's the real kicker. You're paying interest on something that's losing value at the same time. The asset goes down. The debt stays. That combination creates what we call a negative equity situation, where you owe more on the car than it's actually worth. And millions of people are in that situation right now without even knowing it. I'm not here to tell you not to own a car, but what if instead of buying new, you bought smart? In scenario A, you buy that new $28,000 car and finance it at $300 per month. In scenario B, you find a reliable 3-year-old version of that same car for $17,000, finance it at the same rate, and your payment drops to around $185 per month. That's a difference of $115 per month. Now let's say you take that $115 every single month and invest it in a low-cost index fund with a conservative average annual return of 7%. After 5 years, you've turned it into over $8,000. And that's just from choosing a slightly older car. You're still driving. You're still comfortable. You didn't sacrifice your lifestyle. You just made a smarter decision. That's the power of understanding the real cost of your choices. I want to leave you with 3 simple rules. Rule number 1, if you have to finance it to afford it, you probably can't afford it. A car payment that fits your budget is not the same as a car that makes financial sense. Rule number 2, let someone else absorb the worst depreciation. The steepest drop in value happens in the first 2 to 3 years. If you buy a car that's already past that curve, you're getting most of the vehicle's useful life at a fraction of the original cost. Rule number 3, always calculate the true cost, not just the purchase price. How much will this car cost per month when you account for depreciation, insurance, maintenance, and interest? And most importantly, what could that money be doing instead? Because every dollar that goes into a depreciating asset is a dollar that isn't working for your future. And that's really what this comes down to. It's not about whether you drive a new car or an old car. It's about understanding that every financial decision has a real cost. And most of the time, that cost is invisible until you actually sit down and do the math. The people who build wealth aren't necessarily the ones who earn the most. They're the ones who understand where their money is going and make intentional choices about where it doesn't. If this video gave you a new way to look at your finances, hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and share it with someone who needs to hear this. See you in the next one.